Welcome to another edition of On Point Live, right here from the Manhattan Beach Studios. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Vince Ferragamo, former Super Bowl quarterback, and alongside me is my longtime friend and former teammate, 20-year NFL legend, Hall of Famer, Jackie Slater. And Jackie, how was your weekend this weekend?
It was busy, Vince.
Really?
Busy. I had 4 grandkids at home.
Oh,
4 grandkids at my house, and they were all going in different directions, north, south, east, and west, with imminent destruction wherever they would have landed. And so I was just going from one to the next.
What do they call you?
But it was so much fun.
What do they call you, Grandpa?
They call me Granddad.
Granddad.
Yeah.
You know, they call me Nonno, right?
No.
Italiano, see. So, but we celebrated this Saturday night. Jackie, we went to Roma d'Italia, you know, Cal Rossetti's beautiful restaurant in Tustin.
Down in Tustin? Oh, I love that place.
And guess who we saw? We saw, when we first walked up, we saw Matthew Slater, your son.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't even know he was in town. And, you know, Jackie looks 25 years old. Looks like he can play another 10 years.
He works hard, Vince. I'll tell you, that's his work ethic is supreme. There's no doubt about it.
Jackie, I'm telling you, we had a great dinner. Jackie, we had a Vino Nobile de Montepulciano, nice red wine. We had appetizers. We had calamari, which is squid, right?
Yeah.
And then we had this pepperoni bread. Have you ever had it? They're pepperoni bread.
No.
It's like miniature pizza, but it's like a little roll stacked with cheese and pepperoni.
Yeah, it sounds delicious. And you know, sometimes I really admire the different Gino Pilates and all those different things you eat, but sometimes, you know, it's good to just have some greens and cornbread and some pork chops. You know, keep it simple, man.
Oh, man, Jackie.
Too many Italian words in there for me sometimes.
We were celebrating Sophie's birthday. She's 7 years old.
That's
Jackie.
right.
And
She's a sweetheart, too.
The best thing of the whole meal was the dessert, because Vanessa and Sophie made this beautiful birthday cake. And they put the candles on it, and everybody in the restaurant was singing happy birthday to Sophie.
Yeah, they do that
They had the ice cream, and you know, the kids had a great time.
I know
great.
they did.
Yeah, Kara was there, my daughter, so we had a great time.
I know it was. I know it was.
But you know, there's nothing better than to celebrate and have fun with your friends and family. Jackie.
Absolutely.
That's the best. But you know, talking about the NFL, Jackie, we got to get into this. This week, the NFL league year begins because free agency now, there's a tampering period that's been going on the last couple of days. In a couple of days, teams can start signing these free agents, Jackie, and trades can begin.
They can make an agreement. They can't sign it
in a couple of days, March 15th, they can start to sign these guys. And so, you know, of all these impactful players that are free agents, and we see more of them today, who in your mind sticks out, and who do you think are the most impactful free agents that are on the market today?
Vince, there are a lot of good football players out there right now that are looking for deals, looking for new homes, and they're armed with a lot of information to help make those decisions better. We just covered the team report cards as they went in and got that information from the 1,300 guys a year ago about who was the best at this and the best at that, and the training staffs and all that. So these players have some time to evaluate all of these teams and what their priorities are. But, you know, eventually somebody's going to have to make a decision, and they're going to probably, in large part, go to where they can have the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at the free agency list, Vince, there were a couple of guys there that just, boom, jumped out at you. You think, okay, well, he can't be leaving, or he can't be leaving.
Who was the number one guy on that list?
The number one guy on that list was Hargrave. In my opinion, Javon Hargrave of the Philadelphia Eagles a year ago was the top guy on that list. You know, and at this point in time, he has agreed in principle with the San Francisco 49ers he's agreed in principle to be the second highest paid defensive tackle in pro football. He had 11 sacks last year, which is the most he's had in all of his career. But tackle for losses, pressures, quarterback hits, those are the things that he's consistently done well. He's like a guy he's like an Aaron Donald.
He's going from one of the best, arguably one of the best defensive lines, Jackie, to maybe even a better defensive line with the 49ers. I mean, they got guys like Nick Bosa in that lineup, and they were number one against the rush.
They were the number one overall offense in the league last year. And now they just added this piece, which was arguably the most sought-after defender in the free agency market this year. So I think that was absolutely huge. The other thing that I'm watching closely is Kansas City down there with Orlando Brown. Now, Orlando Brown he's a blindside protector for that dynamic quarterback that they got down there. And you really want to they want a Super Bowl with Orlando Brown playing left tackle for them. So I don't think you want to expose your quarterback And so I'm looking to see how fast that deal gets done. And then a couple of other guys that, obviously I'm looking at offensive lineman, Vince, because that was my world.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other guys. A year ago, Quentin Nelson signed a deal that made him the highest paid offensive guard in pro football, $20+ million a year. And this year, the Atlanta Falcons, they've already agreed in principle with Chris Lindstrom. Now think about this. Think about this, Vince. Chris Lindstrom is a guard. I think he's a right guard. And 2 years ago, in 2021, he allowed no sacks. No sacks, Vince. And then this past year, he allowed only 2 sacks. He allowed only 2 sacks against him this past season.
Yeah, but he's been playing every game too, Jay. He doesn't miss.
He played
right?
5 games his first season, I believe it was, and he started every game every season. I think he started like 55 straight games. This guy right here is special, and look at how they treated him. I understand the deal is $105 million with $63 million guaranteed. For an offensive guard, that's unprecedented. It's going to be unprecedented for a while. But what I like about this, Vince, is this guy is operating in an offense where not only they throw the football, but they run the football. So the balance and the way they see this guy being deployed, the things that he's capable of doing makes them really special. And then the last free agents for me, Vince, is those 2 DBs up in Philadelphia. Now, they lost Gannon, their defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Philadelphia can afford to lose Chauncey Gardner, the safety, and James Bradbury. I just don't see how they can let 3 valuable guys, pieces to their defense, 1 a coach and 2 players, just walk out of there. So I'm looking to see what happens with those 2 guys. They're very, very special. And even though they had a great pass rush in Philadelphia last year, you know what the formula is for great pass defense? It's pass rush and coverage. Rush and coverage, and those 2 guys were supreme. So I'm keeping my eyes on that, and there's going to be a whole lot of other movement going on. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, that shows you basically, Jackie, what kind of premium these teams have now on offensive linemen to protect their quarterback. Absolutely. Because it is a passing league, but you have to run the football as well. And now they're shelving out tons and tons of money for these offensive linemen, just as well as they are for defensive linemen, Jackie. But those 3 players on that Philadelphia Eagles team are going to be instrumental. They're going to help somebody else.
They're going to help somebody else.
Maybe they'll stay with their team because they really have been impactful, obviously. But there are so many other players, Jackie. I've seen Devontae David, the linebacker from Tampa Bay. He's a top free agent. And so what I think is, if he goes somewhere, he's going to help a defense. There's another guy like Dalton Schultz with the Cowboys, a tight end. He's Dak Prescott's favorite target. So why would they let him go? I mean, you don't want to deplete your quarterback with his arsenal.
Absolutely.
And then also you got like Jason Kelsey. Of all the centers I've seen, Jackie, in the past 20 years, outside of maybe Rich Saul, the fact that what he adds to the offensive line as a leader, as a trendsetter, as leads by example, his talent, his ability to get outside as a center. You've seen him on those sweeps, Jackie, and how he can move outside. And
he operates like an offensive guard from the center position. So he's kicking people, he's logging people, he's pass blocking people on the edge, and that's a versatility that it's valuable.
Yeah,
and the coaches know it. The coaches know that. Vince.
Another offensive lineman, Jackie, and I would have to say he'd be impactful on any team. Any team would love to have that guy.
Absolutely.
Especially the quarterback.
Absolutely.
Right? The quarterback. Okay, and then you got a guy like Adam Thielen. Okay, with
I think he's got a lot of football left in him.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised that they gave up on him. And it had to have been a financial situation relative to Jefferson and the quarterback there. It just had to have been, because Thielen is still a playmaker.
Yeah, and Mostert, too, the guy that was with the 49ers running back with Miami. He's a free agent. But, Jackie, a lot of times you have to consider the salary position of some of these teams, how they relate in the league. And some of the teams that have the most money to spend, who are well under the salary cap, are the Raiders, and you have Miami Dolphins. Now, those 2 teams, they're shy of 1 player. They're shy of a quarterback. So, it just, it has to be the finance. And the Bears are the #1 team with the biggest salary that they can fill. They have $65 million, Jackie, or $95 million of salary space to pay their
that's
players.
A lot of money. So. And jumping back to the Dolphins, for Mostert, that running back to be allowed to be a free agent and not have a deal struck by them when they got plenty of money, it's a little bit surprising to me. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, he can help anybody.
Vince, if you were free, I remember like it was yesterday, I actually felt that we would have beat the 85 Bears if you had been our quarterback. We had a shorter guy, the wind was blowing, the ball was hitting the air like a Frisbee and not piercing it like I felt like your arm would have done. And I felt like, when you went off to Canada, you kind of deserted us. But you were trying to get a better deal, and I can understand that. Everybody understands free agency is a real option for players nowadays. It's a great option to have. If you were a free agent today, what would be the first 3 teams that you would consider going to as a quarterback?
Well, Jackie, you mentioned number one. I think the biggest thing is to where you're going to fit in, and do you have a team around you? And I think of those teams, if I was a quarterback, obviously I would look at the Raiders, number one. I like Josh McDaniels. I think that team would be a great fit. Devontae Adams is there, so you have the nucleus. You have a great tight end. You got a running back, Josh Jacobs. So, I mean, that team is set. They're just a quarterback shy. The Miami Dolphins, I don't know if Tua is going to be able to play. He's kind of risky now at his position, having those 3 concussion protocols, Jackie, last year.
One more, and you just never know what the permanent damage can be.
And they have so much talent and so many weapons, similar to what Kansas City does. And if they have a quarterback that can lead them and they have money to spend. Both those teams have money to spend. And the third team would be the 49ers because I think if a talented quarterback goes to that team with their young quarterback, bringing him along too, would be a great benefit for that team. So those would be my 3 picks for sure.
Well, for me, Vince, when I think about it, I do think about the facilities. I think about the training, the trainers and how they take care of you, the strength and conditioning coach. Those are things that I have to really concern myself about because I play a very physical type of game, and so I got to get mended up real quick. So I would take a look at that player report card for all the teams and how they handle players, treat their wives and families when they come in. I would take a good look at that. Yeah. But beyond that, I would want to go with somebody who's going to allow me an opportunity to be a versatile offensive lineman and have success being a good versatile offensive lineman. So when I think about the teams that are doing that with their teams, I think about the first guy that jumps into my mind is Kyle Shanahan up here at the 49ers. And I hate the 49ers with a passion. But I think about the way he deploys his offensive line, the way they run the football, the way they throw the football, the way they attack defenses. And I see how over the years, in my opinion, they've been able to get away with guys who perhaps weren't the most physical, weren't this or that or the other.
They were more finesse kind of.
And they were smart guys that can handle a lot of volume. So I can understand that and I can appreciate that. But I like him. And then I also like Sean McVay, especially a few years ago when he had Todd Gurley. It seems to me that systematically that Sean McVay, when you come to his football team, he starts over from scratch every single year. Mm-hmm. And he looks at what you can do versus what you don't have to worry about. Somebody else will handle that. You do the best job at what you're responsible for. And I kind of like that philosophy. It gives you a chance to build week by week on the things that are important to you, and that's all you ever have to deal with. I like the simplicity of that, especially when you're giving the ball to a big back like Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
The team that I think I'm perhaps more enamored with is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, under the coach that they have right now, and it seems like it's been going on that way for years, they have historically respected and treated their offensive linemen special. They just signed their an offensive guard, a right guard, Lindstrom, to a $103 million $103 million contract, Vince. But this guy's earning every penny. 2 years ago in 21, he allowed 0 sacks. Last year, he allowed 2 sacks, and he started 55 straight games.
That's $25 million a year.
For an offensive guard.
Imagine what you could be making if you were playing.
I
think we analyzed that out, Jackie. My calculator wouldn't go that high, a lot of zeros.
Hey, Vince,
You know what the figure was?
What was it?
$300 million.
Vince,
come on, Jackie, because you could play 15 more years. Right? This is when you were in your prime.
God. So what you're saying is if I started today and I played
you was.
But Vince, I try not to torture myself with that
don't
kind of
think about it.
And I try to take it, one day at a time. And I'm happy, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'm happy because, Vince, I can remember like it was yesterday when a very prominent administrator at the Rams said to me, he said, don't come in here talking about no raises, no contract. raises because we can get any overweight taxi cab driver to do your job.
I don't think that's right, Jackie.
That was the attitude, Vince. I'm telling you, they glamorized the defensive line, the backers, everybody but the offensive line. And when he said that to me, I'm saying, okay, well, I got to go about the business of at least proving that I have some value here. But those are the three teams. Those are the three teams that I think I'd like.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. So make sure you follow us at Instagram at on.point.live and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So for all of us here at the Manhattan Beach Studios, I'm Vince Ferragamo along with Jackie Slater. We want to wish you a good day and make sure you stay on point.